Hello, and a very warm welcome to today's Brainfood Talk. I have the honor to moderate this session today with my colleague Manuel. He is talking about the three layers of Agile Transformation. My name is Matthias, and I'm super excited that we have today a non technical topic, first time in our Brainfood event sessions to talk about how to tackle agile transformations from a non-technical point of view. We love to share our knowledge internally in our at Square, basically, and that's also why we love to share our knowledge with the community, and that's what these brain food events are made for. Please feel free to ask your questions during the session already via the live chat. We are very happy to answer them after the presentation of Manuel, and that's already now is already the time to hand over to you, Manuel. Let's have a good session now.
Perfect. Thank you very much. A very warm welcome also from my side. I'm super pleased actually to host this session. As Matthias said, it's the first time in the history of these brain food events where we are not talking about a topic that is exclusively technical. I wouldn't say it's really non-technical, but it's at least with a little bit of a different focus. But before we start into the topic, I would like to introduce a little bit about myself. So my name is Manuel Klein. I started as a software engineer, architect pretty much a while ago. But after some time, I recognized that I'm also very much interested, not just in the aspects of technology, but also how can we create an environment for teams to flourish? How can we support the organization to grow, to scale? How can we help teams to get more effective and more efficient? And this is why I developed a little bit into the role of this, I would say, Scrum Master Agile Coach. So I'm acting mostly as Agile Coach at the moment. I'm one of the co-founders of Square Solutions. I founded Square Solutions with 3 other colleagues a couple of years ago. And my main focus at the moment is the financial industries. So I've worked as an Agile Coach with mainly banks and insurance companies so far. So that's about my person. Good. Then I would say let's start into the topic, and I would like to set the context of this talk at first. And when talking about agility, or especially about agile transformations, we know that there are meanwhile plenty of frameworks, of patterns out there, and also a lot of frameworks and patterns when it comes to scaling agility. I don't know, you name it, it's like Nexus, Safe, and Lessened, and all of this stuff. And I think they are all very, very valid and valuable things to support us. But let's, for this talk, go back actually to the fundamentals of agility and of agile thinking. So if we do this, actually, we can recognize that actually at the core of it, it's about collaboration, right? Agility is not about going alone. It is about working in teams and to collaborate and stuff, number one. Second, it is actually about delivering. It is about leaving away all the stuff that is maybe blocking us, hindering us, about the mess in the process. Is about creating business value. It's about delivering. The third pillar, it's about reflection. So if we are collaborating and if we are delivering, of course, we would stumble upon things that might not be 100% to our success. So we need to reflect what happened actually, what was blocking us on the way, and things like this. And fourth, last but not least, it's about improving. So when we are reflecting, then of course, in the best case, we will find something that we need to improve. And so we are improving. To show actually that we take these principles very serious at Square, I would do the first step. And when I was giving this talk before, we recognized that actually the 3 layers of agile transformation does not describe it too well. So what I'm going to talk about today is more, I would say, 3 different perspectives of an agile transformation. And I want to set a little bit the stage on this because this is not for an audience of a Scrum Master or Agile coach. I really tried to compose a mix of things from the theory and things that I am day to day facing in my real life for everyone who is working in a team, in an organization, and for everybody to have it on mind. So I think this talk should be valuable enough for a very, very broad audience. Good. So let's start into the topic. We have three perspectives of agile transformation. Why I really have to say that agile transformation sounds like you do it once and then it's done. But as we saw and as we experienced over the last years, it is not that way. Like always in life, things are changing, life is changing, business is changing. So agile transformation is not a one-time activity. It is a continuous path. So this as a statement at the beginning. And when we are doing agile transformation, I would like to put our focus on the following three perspectives today. The first one is the perspective of the mindset, because we're talking very much about mindset. What mindset do we need to have in an organization? What is a good mindset? What is a bad mindset? Besides the fact that I don't believe that there's good, bad mindset, it's just the one that you want to create and that you want to adhere to. I would say today, let's focus on creating a change mindset as a foundation of agile transformation in general. The second perspective I wanna talk about is the organizational perspective. So, what does the organization need to bring to the table in order to support an agile transformation? And I would start with a bold statement: make unblocking others as first priority in your agile transformation. We will dig a little bit into details what that means and so on later on. And the third perspective is basically the team cognitive load. So I think that maybe this is the one that is the least represented in agile transformations, that we really think about, okay, how much can a team actually handle? What is the borders on cognitive load on a team? And actually also to take this perspective to split the teams and to set the responsibility borders of the teams. So these are the three perspectives that I would like to go through. And let's start with the first one. Let's start with the mindset. And I was thinking about, when we're talking about mindset, what's that? What's that actually? What is the mindset? What would we expect from people behaving in a mindset that we would see as a mindset fitting to our organization? As I said, there is no good and bad. It's just, does it fit to the overall organization or not? And of course, it is things like if you are experimenting and if you're starting something, then we have to be brave enough to suck at something new. And I would like to go a little bit more into details. I was thinking mindset. From my perspective, which mindset does support an agile transformation in a nice way or in a good way? So I would say, first, to leverage the opportunities to grow. So whenever you see something where you can build up some skills, where you can leverage an opportunity to grow, you should also take it. This is a basic foundation for a mindset that you need to have in an agile transformation, that you are willing to learn, that you're willing to grow. Second, to show vulnerabilities. I think this is a very important part, because as long as you do not show your vulnerabilities, and as long as you do not show where am I actually not good at, you do not have any possibility to learn, right? So we have to be open with our blind spots and with our vulnerabilities. We need to share the knowledge. Of course, if somebody is showing the vulnerability, and if somebody is showing what she or he needs to learn, then we also need somebody who shares the knowledge in order to let people grow. We need to ask for forgiveness rather than for permission. I like this one very much, because a lot of people are thinking very much if they are allowed to do this, if they are allowed to make this decision and so on. And actually, most of the time, people are making the right decisions, because when you're hiring, you hire people that you think they will do the right decisions. This is the reason why you're hiring them. So why would you let them ask for each and every decision that they would take? So sometimes maybe there is a faulty one, but hey, better to have 10 right ones and one faulty one instead of waiting for each and every answer. So I strongly believe in that one. Focus on the business value. So I think, especially when we talk about agile transformations, everybody within an organization should really put the focus on how can we create business value in every sprint planning, in every actually kind of meeting. Like, is this really the most important thing that we can do at this very moment to create the business value that supports our vision, that supports our goals and so on. Yeah? So everybody should think around this. Next one, I would say, start small, cut it to the bone. We often see that people are thinking in target destinations and not in next best steps. So if we go in an agile transformation, I think we cannot say this one often enough. Start as small as possible. Grab a very small part that you will try. Yeah, do not think in superlatives. Think in steps, in baby steps towards your goal. And this goes a little bit also with maximizing the work not done. This is actually also one of the principles of the Agile Manifesto, to say, put out of the sprint or of the backlog whatever you can. Focus really on the bare minimum and move out everything that you want that is not adding value, like in this very moment. So this is what I would say a nice thing if people in your organization have all these points on mind, but not if you tell them, because it comes automatically, because it's lived in this way. So if people are thinking in this kind of trails, then I would say you did a very well job in managing a change mindset. But what can we do actually? Now it's nice if they think that way, but what can we do? And I would just highlight some aspects what we can do in order to support people to cultivate this mindset. And I would say to leverage opportunities to grow, of course, you have to learn from others. And I do not mean just learning from others inside the team. I also mean that people should try or strive to learn also from other teams, from other organizational units. Maybe they are doing things completely different. Yeah? So again, here, not just the Scrum Masters, not just the Agile coaches, also everybody from every team can constantly ask, like, okay, how could we learn basically from them? I saw they do a very nice job. How can we learn this? How can we interact? A second one, very important, if you want people to show their vulnerabilities, we have to help them to fail safe. That means if people do not feel comfortable with showing vulnerabilities in big groups and things like this, and maybe we can do some pairing sessions. We can do it in a small, very safe space to guide them along learning something new. And so we have to create somehow in a team a safe space so that people feel comfortable showing their vulnerabilities. With sharing the knowledge, I think it's I see very often in the day-to-day life that a team is working together, and then we have some knowledge silos in the team. And after a time, we recognize, hey, actually, we do not have the knowledge equally distributed. So what are we going to do? And most of the time, the first recommendation is like, hey, let's do a knowledge sharing session. And I think this is a perfect approach. You can do knowledge sharing sessions. I think it's super important. But the problem with it, you should not do it like on a special date and time or planned or something like this, because a lot between these dates is already lost. So I think we should strive for a general understanding that we always and unplanned share the knowledge, even when it's cumbersome. When I know actually I'm faster when I just do it now myself, it would be good to take somebody where I know this might be important for this person as well. I take her or him on my side, we do it together. Or we need to run this stuff in production. So this is a critical thing that other persons need to know. I will get them and I will take them and share the knowledge on the spot and not just in sessions. So always an unplanned is the key aspect here. I think this is a rather obvious one to if you want people to ask for forgiveness rather than for permission. Obviously, you do not you should not punish them if there is a faulty decision, because immediately they will stop doing this, and then you will destroy everything you created before. To focus on the business value, I think you need really to set a clear purpose. I see it very often in settings that I'm working with, that if the purpose is unclear, if it's not clear why are we actually doing these things, that people cannot concentrate on the business value. How could they? If they do not know where our journey goes, they cannot concentrate on the next important thing. Start small. I think MVP thinking is the keyword here. We should really strive to cut the things as small as possible. And for the maximizing the work not done, I think we should really think in de-scoping stuff. Wherever we can, let's try to de-scope. It will anyhow be hard enough if you have a strong product owner, but yeah, we should try to de-scope here and there a little bit. Good. This is the first perspective on the mindset, my thoughts on this. And based on this, we will move on now to the next perspective, which is actually the organization. And when we talk about organization, then we ask the question, like, what is actually the purpose of an organization? What is the responsibility of an organization? And of course, there is a lot, and we could have an endless list of this, but I would like to point out two, for my taste, the most important things that an organization needs to take care of. The first is setting the vision. As we said before, we need to have a purpose. We need to know where we are going on the long run in our business field or in the market. We need to have this. And the organization needs to frame the environment and the organization for teams so that they can deliver as autonomous and frictionless as somehow possible. So, okay, how can we do this? What should organizations try to look at? What should they try to be aware of when creating an unblocking organization? And I again collected some points where this time I would like to then dig into a little bit deeper for two specific points which are very close to my heart. But I will start to have with the first point, which is following a streamlined enterprise prioritization. So I know from a lot of organizations where maybe they have one, maybe they have an enterprise prioritization, but it is not trickling down in each and every organizational unit. It is tremendously helping if everybody in an organization knows what are our priorities on the way to our goals, not just on a top level, but also on a, I would say, epic level, not maybe on a story level, but on an epic level. We need to know what are the priorities, because this would avoid already a lot of discussions when it comes like, should I go left, should I go right, what should I do? Huh? Then if we have a well communicated and well understood enterprise prioritization, I think we are already good to go. If you want to unblock stuff, then we need to define the interfaces between the entities, between the teams in an organization. So like that, if I'm as team A not aware how to communicate with team B because I need something, I need some support, I want to let them know something, we need to have clear interfaces how teams are interacting with each other. The next thing what an organization definitely needs to do is to support the team autonomy as much as possible. Yeah? Because in the most of the cases, we have teams who are building software and they need to run the software afterwards. Yeah? So if they need to run the software in production, then of course, they should be given enough freedom to make the decision how they want to build the software and how they want to organize in order to have the most frictionless life afterwards in production. So I think it's fair to work on team autonomy as much as possible. Although I have to say that it is sometimes it's a little bit dangerous to give all the autonomy in one go, right? Because especially if you start with Agile Transformation, not when you're already in there, but when you start, people think, okay, now from one day to the other, we had too much governance, we had too much rules, too much things where people really need to stick to. So we will change this. And from one day to the other, they say, like now teams, no rules anymore, do whatever you want. And people are overwhelmed by the sheer possibility of options from one day to another. So I think it also makes sense in some cases to set the cornerstones for fast decision making within a team, like be the kind of, I would not go that far to say a technology selection, but some maybe agile frameworks or some I don't know, whatever, database technologies, a little bit of this kind of governance, I think might make sense. Not in every case, but might make sense. Huh? An unblocking organization delivers the desired resources in a timely manner. That means if we need, I don't know, whatever, we need hardware, a laptop, a permission, a skill, because we do not have it in our team, then definitely this is a thing that the organization should do to support the teams with delivering these resources as fast as somehow possible. We should offer an approach to manage dependencies between teams, because I do not believe in a situation where we do not have dependencies anymore. Even if we try to have a high autonomy and a good split and a high level of decoupling, we will have dependencies, because at the end of the day, one company is delivering one kind of product or service, and you will have dependencies. At latest when it comes to regulatory changes, compliance, or things like this. So companies should offer a kind of a way, at least, how to make these dependencies, to manage these dependencies. Organization should see the unblocking all teams as priority number one. Actually, this is more a thing how the leadership I think is thinking, and it should set the frame for a healthy environment in which the teams can flourish. Good. So again, what can we do actually to support this? First, I think it's a little bit obvious to share the enterprise backlog so that everybody is actually aware what are our priorities, what is the purpose of our company, where are we actually going to, what is important. Second, publish interaction models. There is a lot of ways actually how you as a team can communicate to other teams how you would like that other teams are interacting with you. So make it explicit how other teams should like to approach you. Like for instance, we're running 2-week sprints. The sprints are starting on these and that days. If you need something, then you're better off on these and that time frames. Yeah, please raise your request in, I don't know, call me, put a Slack message, fill out that form. Boring, but do it. So this is meant with team interaction model. For the autonomy, I think it's the most important thing from an organizational perspective to do not overrule a team decision. If the decision was made in the given frame, I think this is the worst thing ever you can do. If you say now, team, go, it's your thing and your dog food that you have to eat after you went live, and then you overrule decisions. Worst thing ever you can do. Don't do it. Setting the cornerstones for fast decision making. Definitely, you can define the non-negotiable parts of the story. What really, where's the border where you cannot go beyond. Accelerate resource handling. This is pretty generic and it's very different in each and every company, but I think we should always bring it to the awareness of the ones who can change it to accelerate resource handling if it's too slow. For the dependencies, I think the first step is to at least create the transparency on all levels, to say, like, if we need to do that, then we have a dependency here and we have a dependency there. Maybe it will change the enterprise prioritization, maybe it will change prioritization on the lower point. However, I think awareness and visualization is here one of the first key points you need to do in order to finally then manage also your dependencies. Implement the KPIs for blockers. We will dig into this right now because this is, I think, one of the most important things and one very concrete thing that I would like to give to you today. And for the last point, to set a frame for a healthy environment, I think education and creating awareness here is the key point. Good. Then let's dig into the two most important points from this, at least to my taste. The first is unblocking part to implement the KPIs. And the second one is to create the awareness how to actually shape a healthy environment for teams where they can flourish. So let's start with the first one. And this is something really from my real life where I struggle with day to day. And this is why I thought it's valuable sharing how I'm normally dealing with things like this. So given we are in a team and we are facing an impediment, obstacle, blocker, wherever. Happens every day, right? Several times, most probably. Or not if you're lucky enough, but in the most teams, even if it's small things, but things are coming up, right? So what basically happens? If we are facing an impediment or blocker, this ticket goes to blocked. If you have a nice Kanban board, like in this example, and you will create an impediment. So afterwards, you will start working on this impediment. And if you can solve it on team level, this is very fine. This is very nice. Then the impediment is gone. I think it definitely makes sense also on team level to track how many KPI, how many impediments you have, how many obstacles you have, how long it takes until they get tackled, how long it takes until they are really, really solved. I think it really helps you then to analyze a little bit, okay, how effective are we actually in our day-to-day work? But as very often, we cannot handle it on a team level, but we need like strong Scrum Master support, strong product owner support, and this impediment goes one level higher. And also here, I think it's really super important actually to have this measuring to say, whenever an impediment leaves the borders of our team and somebody else needs to take care, how long does it take then? Is there a severe difference between internally, outside perspective, things like this? Also to analyze which tickets are actually the ones that are going out is there a pattern? Is there some similarity in each and every ticket that goes out of the team? Because then we should, on this level, really focus on how to solve that. And of course, we can copy this to whatever level. I was going just to this one because I think you can. This is the maximum when talking about flat hierarchies. What is also important in an agile environment, then this is already the biggest depth I would like to see in an organization. But you also can put up this ticket then, or this impediment, to the CPO or tribe level at the end of the day. And also here it's important to measure, because why is it important actually to have these measurements? We can also say we are anyhow working on the impediments, and when it's done, it's done. Yes, but sometimes teams are facing so many blockers that you somehow need to make this situation visible. And we have a very big problem if we keep on saying that we are blocked and cannot undermine this with a data layer where we say, okay, now this is the data that proves that we are blocked in any way. So it is very important to actually measure and to track where we are blocked, also to bring it to the attention of another layer. Because if they say, guys, okay, they had 200 impediments, they could solve 150 on their own, and 25 which were reaching the top level always were about resources or permissions or whatever, and always it took like 3 weeks. I think then we have a problem, and then we have data to actually show that there is a problem. And this is this is a very important aspect of agile transformations, to make stuff visible, to show that we have a problem, and to show that we have a problem based on facts and based on data and based on guts feeling. Good. So that's about the how to make the blockers visible. So I would go on now to the second point in the on the organizational level, and this is to shape a working environment where people can flourish and where they can feel well. So basically, it is content-wise pretty much the opposite of what we looked at it now, because the KPIs and stuff like this was very hard facts on performance metrics and things like this. On the other side, now we are talking about really the aspect of team development, of how can we create a nice environment. And I would really like to start with the statement that is, a team is not a group of people who work together. A team is a group of people who trust each other. And you really can see this, and you really can feel this when you have teams which are performing very well nearly every time. They have a very good relationship and a very, very good trust base. If not, they also at the end of the day will not deliver very well, because they cannot flourish. And for me, when it's about developing teams and shaping organizations, I have one thing that I think is so important that actually everybody should know it. And also, maybe I'm falling in the trap that a lot of people already know it, but I'm always pretty much surprised that this knowledge is not very much spread. There is a concept of Patrick Lencioni called the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and I would really like to briefly dig into this, to give you a kind of a glimpse what I mean when I say healthy environment and the environment for teams to flourish. So this concept says that basically teams are per definition dysfunctional. You have to work on them to make them functional, but by design or by when they start, they are dysfunctional. And there are some dysfunctions. In this model, it's 5, but we could also use any other model. But in this one, it's 5. And I like this one very much. And let's start on the lower level. This is the lack of trust. If you do not trust each other, then I think we already have a problem at the very start. And I do not mean trust in a way like, okay, I trust you will close this task, and do it, all fine. I talk about the real trust, where we touched a little bit about this also in the mindset perspective. When I'm ready to show my vulnerabilities, when I'm ready to unclose my uncertainties, and things like this. Because just if people know where I'm not good at, they can help supporting me. So the invulnerability is one of the hindrances for building the trust. So somehow we need to show our vulnerabilities to get the trust and to have a trustful relationship within a team. Why is this actually important? Why is it important to have the trust in the team? It's important for, I would say, various reasons, but the next layer is, if we do not have the trust, if we cannot trust each other, then most probably we also do not have the productive conflict. Because I don't know, if I don't trust my team members, then I would not unclose my real concerns about the topic. Then we do not have a conflict of a topic, so we have a kind of artificial harmony, and we will never come to the point where we really can dig into some solutions and discuss in a very substantial way how to solve this situation best. So the fear of conflict is the second dysfunction in this model. Why is it important to have the conflict on a productive level? It is important because if we do not have the conflict, and if we do not sort out all the doubts that we had, and we do not have like these substantial discussions, we actually cannot commit on something together. Because why would you commit on something that you do not really believe in? So we will never get to a point where we all say, now we had this ugly discussion, but at the end, at least, we all can somehow live with this situation. And if we can live with this solution or situation, then also we can commit to the next steps together. So that's why it's very important to have this conflict in order to get out the commitment. Because if we do not get the commitment, then we have ambiguity. Then people start just not caring, because if I don't commit, then anyhow, it's not my problem. If we do not have the commitment to put this to one level higher, then we have the avoidance of accountability, which is a completely natural thing, at least in my perception. Because if I do not commit, then I'm also not accountable for this stuff, because it was actually not my idea. I did not want to commit to this stuff because we did not have the discussion about it, because I don't trust you, right? Then is the problem that we cannot hold each other accountable. And in this model, the accountability is actually a very central element, because it says if we trust each other, then I would also expect from my teammates to hold me accountable for something that we agreed together, like on doing something on a standard or whatever. So this is a very central point of a healthy team collaboration, to have these conflicts to hold each other accountable. Because if we are not accountable, then it's more about the personal status and ego, it says, but it's inattention to a kind of a result. Yeah, because if nobody holds me accountable, then I would maybe say it's actually not my problem. Actually, I would have liked to decide completely different, but we did not have the discussion about it. So basically, at the top of this pyramid, we're creating this problem that we are not attentive enough to the results, which at the end of the day is also decreasing the business value generation and also the moral in the team, because who would like to work in such a team? I think that a lot of these things are by default working already pretty good in the majority of the teams, but I think it's also very nice to actually know this concept and to be aware of this concept, to take a critical look at the team where I'm currently in, to see, are we actually having this discussion now or not? How am I actually behaving in this? Do we face some of these dysfunctions? And I would encourage everybody also to discuss with your, I don't know, if you are already in a transformation, or if you are already working agile, and discuss it with your scrum master, or with whoever you feel who could support, and say, hey, I think we have this and that we can improve a little bit, and with a focus on these dysfunctions in our team. And if you're lucky enough to have a good scrum master, then he will be very, very happy about this input, and try very much to help you also on these topics. But again, here, what can we do actually to improve it? And we can do a lot of stuff. On the lack of trust, I would say it's always a good recipe to go first. To be the first one who shows vulnerability, be the first one who really opens up, who discusses, who talks. This is a brave step to do, definitely, especially if you're in new teams and so on. But somebody has to start, right? Always. On the second, mind for conflict, I think that by default we have a kind of a harmony. I think people by default are not searching for like quarrels or something like this. That's what makes it really hard actually to mine for this conflict, but we have to do it. We have to ask the uncomfortable questions. we have to ask things where we know this will maybe blow up the discussion, but we have to do it, because if you do not ask this question, mind for the conflict, we cannot get to an agreement, and this is very exhausting sometimes, but it's equally at least important as exhausting. So force clarity and closure. When we are discussing, I think everybody of us also can think about, is it really clear what we discussed now, or is it like somehow we ended this topic without having the clarity? We need to take a look on really forcing this clarity and also the closure of a specific topic. Confront difficult issues. This is especially when it comes to the accountability, sometimes difficult to hold people accountable, but then it's even more important actually to do it. Good. Last but not least, focus on collective outcomes. So focus on how, or ask the questions also in the team: are we really delivering business value? Is this really like what we're doing? Is really the best solution that we potentially could reach for the given purpose and so on? So this is how you can take a look at the whole thing from the perspective of what can I do personally, like day to day. And I think this gives a very nice overview of how to actually analyze these dysfunctions in your team, or get a glimpse into it, and also to immediately think, okay, how can I contribute in order to improve our situation? Okay, so we are basically done with this organizational part. So please keep in mind, these are the two things that I really specifically wanted to point out. One from the fact-based database, one from the foundation of shaping the team, shaping environments. As I said, I think everybody should actually know this and should understand how teams are behaving, because in agility you're working in teams. So the team is the entity that really needs to work and that really brings the value at the end of the day. Good. When we talk about teams bringing value at the end of the day, then I would like to touch base on the last topic, on the last perspective of the three, which is the team cognitive load. And there is a theory that actually we should work on software that fits in our head, and I like this statement very much, because it phrases it in a very easy, understandable way. What is meant with cognitive load: to not exceed the load to software that doesn't fit in our head anymore. But let's start with the definition. What is the cognitive load? And this is the total amount of mental effort being used in our working memory. So all effort that we're using day to day to get our job done. And by theory, before I come to how we leverage this cognitive load theory and so on, by theory, we have three kinds or three permutations of cognitive load. The first is the intrinsic one. This is the one that you need actually to get the job done. So these are very basic things like handling the programming language, handle the IDE, handle whatever you really need on the foundation to get the job done. The second one is the extraneous. This relates to the environment in which the task is performed, but not to the task itself. So like, how do I deploy that stuff? How do I get my environments? How do I get another database if I need one? How do I get another Kafka topic if I need one? So this is like all this stuff where we say, the theory say it's irrelevant. I would not say irrelevant, but it's the thing that you actually want to get rid of, because you do not want to consume time with thinking like days or running or hunting ghosts in an organization to get to know how do I get my Kafka topic. It's the thing that you typically do not want to do because you want to implement the business value. So this is the extraneous load. And then we have the third pillar that says the germane load. And the germane load is actually the one that really relates to the aspect of the task that you are performing. This is the one where you really need to know about the business complexity. How are things working? How is my part of the software interacting with other parts? Like all of this, what really creates the business value at the end of the day. So we want to focus on the germane part of the cognitive load. And the cognitive load theory actually says that software that is too big for our heads work against organizational agility. And this is true. If you're blocked as a team with too many things that is blowing up your cognitive load, you cannot be as flexible and as autonomous anymore, because at some point you cannot help yourself anymore. You need some support from others and so on. So we really have to see that we put cognitive load on a team that that is nicely sized and do not exceed the borders of the cognitive load capacity of a team. But how much can a team actually handle? I think this is one of the most difficult questions, and I think you will not get it right at the first attempt. We will have to have some iterations on how to find the right setting and slicing. But in theory, we at least have a kind of I don't say guardrails that show us what the team can actually do. And when we talk about how much a team can actually handle, then we're talking about domains, not like in domain-driven design, a technical domain or whatever, but it's a like cluster of topics. Huh? And we see we have simple domains, we have complex domains, and we have complicated domains. And with the simple domains, it is defined in a way that a simple domain has the most of the work has a clear path of action. That means you basically implement a feature where you already pretty much know, or very, very much know, what this will take, because you did it already several times, because it's more of the same. It's clear path of action. Second is a complex one. That means the solution requires a lot of exploration and discovery. So you know what you want to do, but you have no clue actually what is needed for that, what you need, how to do it. It's like everything open. And if the solution at the end is really what you wanted to reach, or if also this you want to change. So this is the complex stuff. And the complicated is that you have some changes that might be analyzed. You might need a few iterations, but at the end of the day, it will get you there. And the theory says that actually a team can basically handle either 2 or 3 of the simple domains, 1 of the complex, or up to 2 complicated domains. So I think it's a good starting point to also critically within your team think about actually what are we doing? How is our backlog looking like? Do we have more of the simple stuff, complex or complicated, or a mix? And if we are if you have complex domains, how much of them do we have? So I think everybody should be encouraged to also have this cognitive load thinking a little bit on mind in order to improve your day-to-day life, I would even say. Good. So, as I said at the beginning, we want to actually get rid of this extraneous load, because this is the one that doesn't bring us the business value. This is the one that does not support you in generating the value, as I said. So we want to get rid of this. And how can we do it? I think we can automate wherever possible, and we can simplify processes. That means if, I don't know, it's a very cumbersome process to release things into production, very cumbersome process to get some resources, I think we should really look at this. We should, as I said at the beginning, very much automate wherever possible, everything. We should take developer experience and developer ergonomics very serious. Because if we want to get rid of the extraneous load, then it should be super easy actually for a team if they want to create a new, I don't know, whatever, new microservice, and they need a new database, that they can just with a couple of clicks get this database or whatever, and do not have to fill out like a 7-page form and justify 7 days why they need it, but just to be like very, very fast in getting this stuff, and to give it to the teams also in a very nice experience. And we definitely need to think about finding other places where this extraneous load that is not on our team would fit better, way better than in our scenario. And at the last part of this third perspective of the team cognitive load, I would give one perspective of a pattern or thinking that is based on the cognitive load theory, which helps you, especially with this point, to try to find better places. And this is called team topologies. So maybe somebody of you already know it. Team topologies is a theory that clusters teams into 4 team types. So there are 4 team type definitions. The first one, you are having a stream-aligned team, which is actually following the main flow of business change. So this stream-aligned team has the responsibility to implement features which are close to the business, meaning features that create immediate business value. They should be able to react super fast. They should have a very good understanding of the business complexity and the market they're working in, and so they should optimize for flow so that they can produce value very, very fast. In order to be able to do this, there will be the need of some enabling teams. For instance, like the Streamline team should definitely be responsible end to end, meaning they should implement the feature, they should deploy the feature, they should run the feature. But this does not necessarily mean that they need to know every nitty-gritty detail in the deployment pipeline, networking, whatever. So we should have enabling teams that enable these Streamline teams to get their job done, whatever this might be. We've complicated subsystem teams. So if you are not immediately with your development creating the business value, but you are working on a very central component, it sometimes makes sense to pull this out. Like if you're working on a risk model or whatever in the banks, things like this, definitely makes sense to form these complicated subsystem teams. And we have platform teams. They should provide the platforms where the Streamline teams can run their stuff on, be it maybe cloud infrastructure, data analytics platform, all the things like this. I think makes definitely sense to put it out of the cognitive load of the Streamline teams. And it also said we have a couple of interaction types, which is collaboration, if you really work together, as a service, if you're using another team or a service of another team, and facilitating if you're not really working together, but you're just helping another team. And actually the evolution of this says that first you start most probably in two teams with a very tight collaboration. After a while, you should strive for getting more autonomous, because as close as you work together, the more shared cognitive load you have. So you need to dissolve this a little bit. And the path should go to as a service, so that I know what do I get from this team, how do I get it, I just use this team as a service. And if we take a look at this in general, then we can have a thing that looks like this. So we have a Streamline team that is consuming something from a complicated subsystem team, running on a platform, and having an enabling team that supports the Streamline team to generate value. And if we map this to a real life example, then I would say we can take any platform that has a recommendation engine, like, I don't know, use Airbnb or Netflix or whatever. So basically, there could be an example where a Streamline team is working on these recommendations, basically. There is a complicated subsystem team where you can get these customer preference and analytics that you most probably will need if you want to do recommendations. You will have an enabling team because maybe there are different technologies in this analytics tool chain. There is maybe something you do not know, or maybe it's like from a business complexity very complicated or complex that you cannot handle it alone. Then you have an enabling team that is support you with this, and you have a cloud infrastructure platform team that is providing all this cloud infrastructure for you. So the benefits about this cognitive load thinking is that it gives you a new perspective on actually how to set the team responsibilities and borders. So I do not say this is the final truth for everything, but at least it gives a new or different perspective. If you thought about, hey, how can I slice the work? Maybe this is a good thing to think about it. It fosters the teams to focus on really the value generation part, not about the things around. So I think it's always good to create some awareness around this. It manages somehow the cognitive load optimization to optimize the flow and the throughput, and it increases therefore the effectiveness. Because if you have software that fits in your head that you have to maintain, then you're getting more effective, and it supports to build up. I see there is there's a slide. It definitely supports to not build up knowledge silos within a team, because if you have software in the team that fits in your head, then most probably you do not always have to think like, who's working on that, because this is very complex, we cannot share the effort because we're too slow then. So it helps you to overcome these knowledge silos in your teams. Good. Let's do a very fast wrap up, because I think we are already very much late in the time. So let's do a wrap up. What did we hear today? From my perspective, there are three perspectives that you always should have in mind when you are in an agile transformation or thinking about agile transformations, which is creating the change mindset as a foundation, to make the organization unblocking for everybody, and to manage the team responsibility borders based on the cognitive load theory. So for the mindset, I think it's important, if you have a minute in the afternoon, to think what is important actually in my organization, what mindset would I like to work in and my organization to have. How would you want that the people in my organization think, to create a change mindset? How should they think and behave? And please keep reflecting and challenging the status quo. Are we really thinking about value first? Are we really prioritizing in a nice way? Things like this. On the organization, what are the part of the frame that my organization actually should give? What is important? What should the organization do in my context? To make the blockers and the impediments and obstacles transparent and start measuring, because this will be a very powerful tool for you if you have problems in the flow. And think about the quality of the team relationship. This is all the stuff about this, what I said, 5 dysfunctions of a team. It really pays off to have an open eye for things like this. So please keep this in mind. Third is the cognitive load theory. So start thinking about this. If you did not do already, I think it's very worthwhile to have this on mind and think about it. Try to reduce the extraneous load from the teams, and find team cuts which are appropriate to the cognitive load capacity. So start to search for a slice that creates software that fits in your head. Yeah, and use the cognitive load theory in order to find new team slices or review your team slices. Good. Thank you very much for the attention. I hope you're still here. I believe yes. So this was my 3 perspectives. Of course, I'm very happy to discuss this. So if anybody has some questions, please raise them. Before some people are leaving for the Q&A, I would like to share one more information about you. This is about the upcoming Brainfood Talk, which will be done by our beloved colleague David, who will talk about reactive architectures. Yes, so also this is a very important topic. Tune in if you want to learn more about it. Now I would be happy to discuss some questions if there are some. Sure. What do I think about it? I mean, this is the reality that people demand this. So we should be also happy to get this request. But I think in general, there is this like theory with the triangle where you say you have 3 dimensions where you can tweak stuff. This is the budget, timeline, or scope. So I would say if they say deliver a feature by that timeline, then something of this has to be flexible if you want to deliver in an agile way. And I would say this feature can then be interpreted in various ways, right? Because maybe I would recommend to strive then to maybe look at the MVP version of this feature and try if we can hit the deadline, because I think deadlines per se are not a bad thing. Sometimes the world delivers deadline, because if you are, I don't know, in an e-commerce business and there is Christmas, then Christmas is the deadline. You cannot negotiate Christmas, right? But maybe MVP version of the desired feature can already be enough. Yeah? So think about leveling the scope and maybe not always leveling the deadline.
Okay, great, thank you. So you say, as a team member, I should not challenge the existence of deadlines at all, but I should challenge what is the scope for the specific deadline, right?
I think you can do both, yeah. But if the deadline is non-negotiable, I think we should always challenge the scope, yeah. If we really need everything of this portion, or if a smaller slice of this is already good, yeah, and also you can challenge the deadline, yeah. But if the challenge is not the deadline is not negotiable, then let's challenge the scope.
Okay, great. So I would like to continue with a question from Thomas. It's also a more generic one. What are the common pitfalls that you have experienced in agile transformations?
This is a very hard question because there are a lot layers. I would say one that is very much blocking is if from the top level management there is not really the readiness and understanding what this means for an organization, because at some point you will face the situation where you need the support from top leadership level, and if there is no awareness for your, or not deep understanding for this, then you will be in trouble. I would give an example in retrospect to the question that we just had. If the top management does not understand that it's not possible to just throw in the room, deliver exactly this feature with exactly this deadline, then you are in a very difficult situation. So I would say one of the evergreens is try to get understanding also on the top level. This is very important.
Okay.
Second one,
Mentioning
maybe.
support is crucial.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. Thanks. For the sake of time, let's directly jump to the next question. I'm not able to really pronounce that because it's just some random letters. So let's call him anonymous. His question is on learning and knowledge sharing. How much time do you think should be used per person per week, and how do you sell this activity to the high level management? So the what is the return on investment on knowledge sharing?
I start with the second part of the question. How do you sell it to the top management? I think if you have a top management where you really need to sell this, then you also have a problem on the mindset level with the top management, because I think everybody should understand that if we really mean the stuff serious with you build it, you run it, and to have autonomous teams that are delivering end to end, then it will not be possible to run a system without having the knowledge properly shared. So actually, this is the non-negotiable part of it. For the first part of the question, I have to answer it with the unsatisfactory answer. It depends, and it depends on the, I would say, maturity of the team, and of the composition of the team members. Like if you are a team that has been working together for a very long time and you know the product very well, then most probably it doesn't require like super much effort and time on that. But if you're a very new team, then I think it really can go up also to 50% of your time, or even 70% of the time at the beginning. Because if you create something new and every team member is new, or some team members are new, then you need to do it together. Maybe you need to discuss about it. You need to get a common set of standards in your team, and this takes time. So all this I consider as knowledge sharing. So it can go up to a very high amount of your capacity.
Okay, so knowledge sharing is not just sitting together on a specific topic and presenting that. It's all kind of getting a common understanding of things.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So we are almost at the end of the time. So I will take one last question, and it's from Paul. He's asking on what level of detail should a company backlog be to support the team level decisions?
I have to think about what's the essence of the question, because I think, and was the question about the enterprise backlog or a backlog in general?
The company, so the enterprise backlog.
Yeah, okay.
So what level of detail?
Yeah. I think, to be honest, not very detailed. Like there is this classification in the detail levels of a requirement or of the backlog, which of course it starts with story, epic, goes up to initiative and theme. Yeah? And I would say on the enterprise level, not too much details. It should be able to transport the desired outcome of the activities towards this. This is very critical, but actually to break it down into details is already the how and not the why. So on the enterprise level, I think we should concentrate and focus on the why and what. And on the team level, we should break it down to how are we going to do this. So this is where the details come.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your talk and answering all the very interesting questions. I have a last announcement to make. We are doing now a little break with the Brainfood Talks over the summer. So the next talk will be in September again. And my final words are just thank you very much for watching and hope we will see each other again in September. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.